Hello students, welcome to the Hindu News Analysis by Baji IAS Academy. In this session, we will discuss some of the most important and relevant news articles. See, before actually discussing these news articles and all the current affairs, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and also hit the bell icon so that you will get all the important updates regarding the classes. Okay, so these are the list of very important and relevant news articles. Okay, so we will discuss all these news articles and they are important for both prelims and mains exam perspectives. The first news article is India's China strategy needs to be debated. Okay, so this is with respect to India's stance towards more aggressive and assertive China and what are the drawbacks and shortcomings in India's approach towards its engagement with China. And the next very important news article, Buddhism, a soft power projection tool. Recently, a summit was conducted by the government of India. Okay, Ministry of Culture conducted a Buddhism summit. This is primarily aimed at furthering or promoting India's soft power and further enhancing India's ties with the countries like countries in Southeast Asia and East Asia. And the next important news article is left wing extremism. Left wing extremism still poses a significant threat for our internal security. See, this left wing extremism is very important for paper 3. Okay, GS paper 3, internal security section. Left wing extremism is very important. Every year, at least one question is asked from this section, left wing extremism, in GS paper 3. And the next important news article is lack of drug recall law in India. So, as part of this article, we will try and understand what exactly the meaning of drug recall, why India lacks the drug recall law, and what are its implications. And a new quad. We also know there was a quad. A quad grouping comprises of India, Australia, Japan, and United States. In the same way, there was a Western Quad. Okay, the Western Quad comprises Israel, UAE, USA, India, and in the same way, there is a new Quad formation in Middle East, and that comprises Saudi Arabia, excluding Israel. So we will try and understand what exactly the significance of new Quad grouping. Okay, new Quad grouping. And the next very important article is 5 more cheetahs to be released into wild at Kuno Palpur National Park. This is very relevant for prelims examination point of view. Okay, so we will try and understand what is exactly the cheetah reintroduction program which India started, and cheetahs were sourced from what are the countries, which of the countries cheetahs are basically sourced from, and introduction program. Okay, the next important news article is Haryana government announces reservation for backward classes in urban local bodies. Okay, so constitution has provided for reservation of seats in both panchayats and local bodies for women, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. However, state legislature can provide reservation to other backward classes, but it is based on the overall jurisdiction or discretion of this respective state legislature. So, keeping this in mind, Haryana government announces reservation for backward classes. We will try and understand this article as well. This is the first article. So, see, in recent past, we have been constantly discussing about China and India ties and how China is growing more belligerent, assertive, aggressive, and how India's relationship with China should be, you know, how those relations should be, how India should actually engage with more assertive China so that the border conflicts would be resolved and India could be able to maintain a healthy relations or healthy ties with China, keeping in mind its threats, both threats across the ocean, Indian Ocean, and also at the borders. Okay, so this article has been saying that we all know that recently China has renamed 11 places in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, China has renamed 11 places in Arunachal Pradesh, and these places are otherwise known as Jangnam. Okay, Jangnam. Okay, so these places are otherwise known as Jangnam, or English translation of this name is South Tibet. Okay, so Actually, this announcement was made with the approval of Chinese State Council. Okay, this renaming of names, uh, places in Arunachal Pradesh, is made, especially made after the approval of Chinese State Council, and this implies that this has an approval from the top level of the Chinese system. Okay, so the overall naming, or Gengnam, has approval from the top level. Okay, approval from the top level of the Chinese system. So therefore, it implies that the renaming of 11 places in Arunachal Pradesh has more, you know, authentic and legitimate on the part of Chinese. So therefore, India should be very careful. India should not take this very lightly. However, several experts, okay, so several geopolitical experts have been claiming that, what they have been claiming, they are claiming that standardization of names by China, and this is called as Gengnam. Okay, this is called as Gengnam, and standardization of names completely falls within Chinese sovereignty. Okay, the geopolitical experts in China, they are claiming that the renaming or standardization of names in Arunachal Pradesh, it completely falls within Chinese sovereign authority. Okay, Chinese sovereign authority. However, if we understand, this is a long held tactic on the part of China. Okay, this is a long held tactic on the part of China, and to provocate India. Okay, this is to provocate India. So since the Galwan Valley clashes, there is no resolute effort on the part of China to resolve the border conflict. Okay, China has been continuously trying to provocate India. Okay, so either it is building the dual use infrastructure at the border areas, or forces deployment of forces on the border side, and continuous incursions into our Indian side, all have been aimed at provocating India. Okay. However, India responded by rejecting the outright. India outrightly rejected China standardizing names in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay. So India called this as a nomenclature aggression. What is nomenclature aggression? So aggression with standardizing names. Okay. Aggression with standardizing names. Okay, so apart from this, is this response enough from India? We need to understand, just outrightly rejecting the names, the standardization of names by China, is this enough, or something else required, something more required from the Indian part? However, naming of disputed territories, we already discussed, this is actually a long held tactic on the part of China. Okay, so this is a long held tactic and long held policy on the part of China, because we can infer that this is the third time that China has renamed places in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so this is actually the third time. However, this is actually not the first provocative act of China. Okay, so this is not the first provocative act of China in the recent months. In fact, there was an unresolved Galwan conflict in the year 2020. Okay, unresolved Galwan conflict in the year 2020. Okay, so there was no serious attempt at all from the Chinese side to resolve this border issue. Okay, even though India has been trying to resolve this border issue, and India has also pushing for the pushing this Chinese side to return to the status quo ante. Okay, return to the status quo ante. However, the Chinese side has been saying that the border relations, okay, the border tensions should not be come in the way of bilateral relationship between India and China. Okay, so on the other hand, India has been linking the border ties. Okay, India has been linking the border ties with the bilateral relationship with China. Okay, so because it shows that China has no intention to immediately solve the border issue, and China will continue to have such a provocative stance over a period of time, because China openly says that the bilateral relationship should not come in the way of the border tensions, or the border conflict should not come in the way of the bilateral ties between both the countries, and this has been clearly uh, uh, com- clearly conveying that China has no immediate intention of resolving this border issue or a border conflict. Okay, so in fact, there were several instances of further provocation on the part of China, and the recent example was in at the uh, Tawang site, and even renaming of places in Arunachal Pradesh, even after the Galwan clashes 2020. So therefore, there is no serious attempt on the part of China to resolve the border issue. Okay, so what exactly India stand on this? What exactly India stand on China's provocation, and what has been weakening India's position in this respect? We need to understand what exactly has been weakening India's stance on China. However, geopolitical experts like Happy Manchakar, okay, so uh, uh, several experts. One of them was Happyman Jacob. So he identified several such factors, and these factors have been weakening India's position. Okay, weakening India's position or weakening India's stance over China. And what are those factors? And those factors include the growing power differential between China and India. We all know that China now grown as like a much bigger economic power, military power, and it has a huge technological advancement. Okay, so therefore India is still a developing country, and it has aspirations to grow much faster. Okay, so therefore there has been a growing power differential between these two countries, and apart from this, there is an uncertainty over the strategic actions of major powers. So, in case of a border conflict between India and China, how US would respond, how other major powers like Russia would respond to the border conflict, whether they come in aid of India or not. Okay, so there is an uncertainty on the part of the strategic actions by the major powers like US. Okay, so the next factor includes the military capability differential. So we need to accept the fact that there is also a huge military capability differential, whether it comes to the Navy, Army, or Indian Air Force. Okay, so in all the wings, India has a hugely uh, you know uh, not at par with China as of now. India has been developing itself to compete with China. However, there is a military capability differential that has been in existence between India and China. Okay, so because India as of now is not equipped for a major war with China. Okay, not equipped for a major war with China. See, all these factors have been further weakening India's tough stance on China. And apart from that, there is a huge pressure from the business community as well to safeguard trade. Okay, safeguard trade. Why? Because as of now, around $100 billion of trade between India and China, and China is also a source of cheap raw material. Okay, it is also a source of cheap raw material. Because of this, there is a huge because of this, there is a huge pressure on the Indian government from the business community as well to safeguard the trade. However, apart from this factors, there is another factor. The factor is lack of consensus. Okay, within the ministries there is a lack of consensus, and there is also a political will. And what kind of a response in case of a Chinese threat, in case of a Chinese aggression, what kind of a response India should deliver? Because of all these factors, these factors have been weakening India's stance. Okay, they have been weakening India's stance. Now, apart from this, the considerations have led to emergence of overcautiousness and self-restraint. Okay. Now, because of all these factors which we have discussed, and these factors have led to overcautious self-restraint on the part of India, even though there has been an aggression at the border areas. Okay, an aggression at the border areas, or assertiveness on the part of China, India has been following the policy of overcautious self-restraint. However, we have been overlooking, or this has been leading to the overlooking of Chinese self-assertiveness. Okay, Chinese self-assertiveness not just at India's borders but also at the sea. Okay, also at the sea borders. So this is evident from the fact that in recent past there has been an enormous increase in Chinese Chinese naval presence. Okay, Chinese naval presence in the Indian Ocean region. China has also been showing aggressiveness at the in Indian Ocean. Okay, and this is also evident from the fact that recently China has also given statements that Indian Ocean is not confined to a few countries, or uh, uh, the dominance of India over the Indian Ocean should end. Okay, this is one such statement from the Chinese side, and this has been clearly showing that there has been an increasing self-assertiveness, aggression, belligerence of China in the Indian Ocean region as well. However, so India's response of what is the India's response? Traditionally, India's response is reinforcing its border defense. Okay, reinforcing or strengthening its border defenses and also building roads. India has also been building roads, building infrastructure, and also reinforcing its border areas. However, to some extent prevent it the incursions. Okay, incursions by the People's Republican Army. Okay, Chinese People's Liberation Army. Sorry, Chinese People's Liberation Army. But this will not developing infrastructure, developing border roads will not significantly deter the Chinese side. Okay, significantly deter the Chinese side, and China will continue to follow the policy of salami slicing. Okay, continue to follow the policy of salami slicing. So what is the salami slicing? Salami slicing is a gradually moving forward and occupying territories. Okay, a small piece of territory is occupying the small pieces of territory over a period of time. This is generally called as the salami slicing theory. Okay, salami slicing tactics. And China has been adopting these salami slicing tactics when it comes to India's land borders. Okay, so now China has been following the path of, or China has been assertively building its image at the international level. In yesterday article also we have discussed about this. Now China has been looking to improve its image in the international arena, whether it is comes to the policy document on Afghanistan. Okay, whether it comes to the policy document on Afghanistan, and whether it is comes to the Ukraine peace plan. Okay, Ukraine peace plan, and also the mediation between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Okay, so all these factors further enhance Chinese influence, Chinese soft power in different parts of the world. Okay, now China's assertive image building exercise. We all know that in China there is a one party state. Okay, that is actually the Communist Party of China. Since there is a one party state in China, there is no need for China to seek the public, to seek the public support. Okay, because there is only one single party, that is Communist Party of China, and it does not worry about the public approval. Okay, public approval of these policies. However, the Chinese Communist Party have been, sorry, not CPI, CCP. So Chinese Communist Party has showed up its domestic credibility. Okay, how it has been increased its public approval in China by valorizing or significantly enhancing its international image. Okay, it has been significantly increasing its international image. And once China followed the policy of peaceful rise. Okay, China followed the policy of peaceful rise. Now it has been showing the strength, determination, and commitment. Okay, China now increasingly showing the strength, determination, and also the economic might and willingness. Okay, so China is not ready to compromise on its core interests. For example, if China believes anything as its core interest, China is not ready to China is not ready to compromise on its core national interests. Okay, so that will further increase Chinese aggression. That will further increase aggression and assertiveness of China at both land borders and at the ocean borders. Okay, so the next very important news article is with respect to Buddhism. See, this is very important news article, Buddhism, because there is a scope that it could be UPSC can ask this question in GS paper 1 and also GS paper 2 international relations section, how Buddhism can be used as a soft power tool. Okay, how Buddhism can be leveraged by India as a soft power tool to project its influence or increase its influence in different parts of the world. Okay, how Buddhism can be a solution for the contemporary problems. So in this respect, we should try and understand this, how Buddhism can be used as a soft power tool. Now please understand, recently India hosted a global Buddhist summit in New Delhi. Okay, so uh, this summit is conducted by Ministry of Culture in collaboration with International Buddhist Confederation. Please remember this part. Okay, this summit has been organized by Ministry of Culture in collaboration with International Buddhist Confederation. Okay, now in this summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had emphasized that uh, emphasizes on the continuing relevance of Buddha's teachings in today's world. Okay, now today's world has been experiencing social unrest. Okay, today's world has been experiencing social unrest, divisions in society. Okay, divisions in society on the lines of caste, religion, community, and also apart from divisions in the society, there has been a discrimination. Okay, there has been a discrimination, whether it is with respect to the woman discrimination, a discrimination with respect to class and caste, and rising inequalities, and apart from this, violence. So therefore, Buddha's teachings continues to be relevant in today's world, or Buddha's teachings continue to be a solution for the contemporary challenge. This is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized on Global Buddhist Summit that was organized by Ministry of Culture. Okay, however, this summit was very significant. Okay, this is actually a significant opportunity for India. Why it is a significant opportunity for India? This summit will provide an opportunity to project and connect with the Buddhist population around the world. Okay, so there is a significant presence of Buddhist population across the world. So therefore, this summit will provide India an opportunity to project and connect with the Buddhist population around the world, therefore furthering India's soft power. Okay, this will also help us in furthering India's soft power. However, India's efforts so far. So, what efforts India have already taken in this respect? Okay, we should also understand the efforts on the part of India. However, India has been actively investing in Buddhist diplomacy. Okay, so this is evident from the fact that India has been promoting or focusing on promoting tourism through Buddhist tourist circuits. We know that Buddhism originated in India. Okay, so Buddhism originated in India and then it spreads to other countries, whether it is about the countries in Southeast Asia and East Asia and South Asia, including Sri Lanka. Okay, so therefore, India has several very important places, like India has Bodh Gaya, Saranath, and Kushinagar. Okay, so they are very relevant in the perspective of Buddhist religion. So therefore, India has started the Buddhist tourist circuit. Okay, Buddhist tourist circuit. Now, Buddhist tourist circuit will help attract tourists from different parts of the world. Okay, so this will help attract tourists from different parts of the world. And this summit, the Global Buddhist Summit, will also help demonstrate India's commitment. Okay, it will also help India demonstrate its commitment in preserving and promoting Buddhist culture and heritage, as well as strengthening its ties with global Buddhist community. Okay, so this summit will help in preserving and promoting the Buddhist culture and heritage which we already have in our country, and as well as strengthening our ties, strengthening people to people ties, strengthening soft power with the Buddhist community across the world. However, India has a strong historical and cultural ties to Buddhism. Okay, how India has a strong historical and cultural ties to Buddhism, because the Buddhism originated in India, and India is also well positioned to play a leading role. Okay, so India is also in a well positioned place to play a leading role in shaping discourse around the Buddhist issues on global stage. Okay, now there are several issues at the global stage also with respect to Buddhism, and India can play a leading role in resolving or shaping several such issues at the global stage. Now, what exactly the potential of Buddhist diplomacy? We should understand the potential of Buddhist diplomacy, because please understand, Buddhism has a potential of promoting regional cohesion. Okay, it has a potential of promoting regional cohesion because 97% of Buddhist population live in Asia. Since 97% of Buddhist population live in Asia itself, it has the potential to promote the regional cohesion. During the Cold War also, China effectively used this strategy, the Buddhist diplomacy. Okay, Buddhist diplomacy to engage with neighboring countries. Using Buddhist diplomacy, China has engaged with the neighboring countries during the Cold War period. Okay, so now also after the Cold War also, China has been increasingly using the Buddhist diplomacy to gain legitimacy for its Belt and Road Initiative. Okay, Belt and Road Initiative. However, now India and China have been competing to dominate the Buddhist heritage. Okay, so one such example is China is keen to announce the next Dalai Lama. Okay, China is keen to announce the next Dalai Lama. So therefore, in this respect, India should not lose this opportunity. India has the all India has all the advantages with respect to Buddhism, and this can be rightly used and rightly leveraged to further India's soft power in throughout the world. Okay, so however, please understand, despite being home to a number of Buddhist sites, Bodh Gaya, Saranath, Kushinara, India is unable to attract tourists. Okay, the Buddhist tourism is very low in India as of now, because countries like countries like Cambodia and Thailand have been attracting a significant number of Buddhist tourists. Okay, significant number of Buddhist tourists. So therefore, India should think on this also and should attract large number of Buddhist tourists into our country, because we have several historical key Buddhist sites like Bodh Gaya, Saranath, and Kushinara. And this is also an opportunity for us, and this opportunity should also be rightly leveraged. Okay, now understand the guiding principle, okay, with China factor also. However, uh, in recent past, there were several efforts from India's side. Okay, what are the efforts? We already discussed the efforts, the Buddhist circuit. Okay, India conducting the Global Buddhist Summit or the Buddhist circuit to rejuvenate tourism or increase tourism or to increase its soft power. Okay, there were several efforts on the part of India to project itself as a great power. India wanted to project itself as a great power, and India is always committed for cooperation rather than coercion. India is not known for coercion. India is actually known for cooperation with different countries. India enjoying a lot of soft power, whether it is in South Asia, whether it is in South Asia and Africa, Southeast Asia, and East Asia. India has been a lot of goodwill and also the soft power. So therefore, India is determined to uh, play a great power role. Okay, India is determined to play a great power role, and India's relations with other countries are primarily driven by cooperation rather than coercion. And India also wanted to leverage its deep historical and cultural ties in the region. Okay, now see, India has been trying to reinforce its image. So whatever image India already had, trying to reinforce its image as a responsible global power, as a responsible global power. Because see, India provides food security. India provides food security to the world. India never involved in policies like debt trap diplomacy. Debt trap diplomacy. Rather than India invest in sustainability projects. India invests in the capacity building or the capacity development projects across the world. The best example is Africa and Afghanistan. Africa and Afghanistan. So therefore, we can rightly call as India a global power. And India is also committed to a peaceful cooperation and regional stability within South Asia and beyond. Okay, so emphasizing on this, all these factors have been emphasizing on India's cultural and civilizational ties with all these countries. Now, India has rightly recognized the importance, the relevance of Buddhism. Okay, so India has recognized the relevance of Buddhism because uh, this is a means of conducting the public diplomacy and also utilized its advantage. A recent summit, the Global Buddhist Summit, is also one such example of India recognizing the importance of Buddhism, how important Buddhism is really for further promote India's soft power. However, in order to maintain edge over China, more actions are required. So whatever efforts India had already taken, they are not enough. India need to take more such efforts. Okay, India need to act more proactively because as of now, China has been actively seeking to exert control over the appointment of next Dalai Lama. Okay, we all know that Dalai Lama, the current Dalai Lama, is in India. So okay, he is seeking asylum in India. So therefore, in order to in order to further its soft power, China has been planning to control the next appointment of Dalai Lama. So therefore, if China appoints the next Dalai Lama, that would be a blow to India's efforts to project itself as a soft power through Buddhism. Okay, so project itself as a soft power through Buddhism. So therefore, India must act to ensure that it remains a very key player in the Buddhist community. It remains a key player in the Buddhist community. India should use or should leverage whatever opportunities it already have, and to further its Buddhist diplomacy, what India need to do. Okay, so we understood the challenges to India's soft power from emanating from China. Okay, so this article has also emphasizing on India need to do more, need to do more. However, what India can do to further strengthen Buddhist diplomacy, India can do, India have to do the following things to further strengthen India's Buddhist diplomacy. India should continue promote Buddhism at the highest levels of the government, like India organized the Global Buddhist Summit. Okay, Global Buddhist Summit. In the same way, India should continues to organize such events at the highest levels of the government and also organize such cultural events. Okay, such cultural events, and these cultural events show countries rich Buddhist history. Okay, so these cultural events will show countries rich Buddhist history to the rest of the world. And Indian Council for Cultural Relations, Indian Council for Cultural Relations could play a key role or could play a significant role in promoting the events which India has been planning to organize at the highest government level and also the cultural events. Now, we should also rightly leverage the Bollywood, okay, to further promote Buddhism. For example, China has effectively used Hollywood. Okay, China has effectively used Hollywood to promote Buddhism, and now uh, it is shaped the narrative, the global narrative in such a way that when people think about Buddhism, they generally think about China. Okay, because of the Hollywood and China's dominance in the Hollywood. So in the same way, Bollywood should also be rightly leveraged because Bollywood also has a wider reach. Okay, wider reach across the globe. So in the way, Bollywood should also rightly leverage to promote the Buddhist culture, okay, to promote Buddhist culture, so that it will also help us make significant impact or It will further help us to improve our soft power. Okay. However, along with that, India's G20 presidency this year should be used to promote Buddhist diplomacy. Okay, we know that this year India holds the presidency of the G20 summit, and this presidency should be used to promote the Buddhist diplomacy, because that will further our soft power. Okay, so that will further our soft power to the rest of the world. This is a very big opportunity for India. Okay, and apart from that, uh, India should organize the cultural meetings on the sidelines of the G20 meeting. On the sidelines of the G20 meeting, India should organize the cultural meetings. Okay, so that will help further the Buddhist diplomacy. And this should include Buddhist teachings. Okay, this should also include Buddhist teachings, and these teachings should be aligned with the G20 theme. Okay, India's G20 theme. So, what is India's G20 theme? That is one earth, one family, and one future. Please also remember this theme. This theme or motto is also very important for exams. Okay, prelims exam. This theme is very important. The theme is one earth, one family, and one future. The next very important and a relevant article. This is very important for GS3. Okay, this is very important for GS3 and internal security section. Every year UPSC asks at least one question from this section. Okay, so therefore carefully listen to all the points which have been which we will discuss as part of this article. So this article is with respect to the recent death of District Reserve Guard in the state of Chhattisgarh. Okay, in the state of Chhattisgarh, right? So there was a death of 10 people, including one civilian. So pointing this has been pointing that the Maoists are still a threat. Okay, recently there was a some complacency, whether it is on the part of the state governments or central governments, or on the part of security forces, that the Maoist movement or the violence has been coming to an end. Okay, so it has been coming to an end. However, this is not true. This is not exactly true. This is evident from the recent Maoist attack on the District Reserve Guard forces. Okay, so before actually discussing this article, there are very few and relevant points. I have clubbed all of them uh, in a a summary manner. Okay, I have summarized everything, so that they will be useful for the exam. So apart from that, we should try and understand the red corridor. Okay, red corridor. So what is red corridor? Red corridor is actually the region where there is a high presence of left-wing extremism. Okay, this is all the red corridor. When you write the answer, please draw the map and also draw the red corridor. Also demarcate the red corridor in the map. And the states which come under red corridor include Bihar, West Bengal, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra. Okay, so Karnataka. These are the states which are part of the red corridor. Okay, so it has been divided into three phases. The left-wing extremism movement is divided into three phases. Okay, so in the first phase, Operation Steep Chase. Okay, Operation Steep Chase by Government of India led to the killing of Charu Majumdar. Charu Majumdar is generally known as the father of left-wing extremism movement in India. Okay, LWE, left-wing extremism movement, left-wing extremism movement in India. Now, Operation Steep Chase led to the killing of Charu Majumdar. Okay, so after the killing of Charu Majumdar in the year 1980, uh, there was a formation of People's War. Okay, in the second phase, there was a formation of People's War Group in the state of Andhra Pradesh, and this led to the start of second phase in the left-wing extremism movement in India. However, in the year 1990s, operations by forces and internal dissensions weakened the left-wing extremism. Okay, 1990s itself, the left-wing extremism started weakening. However, when it comes to the third phase of the left-wing extremism, the People's Guerrilla Army. This was formed in the year 2000. Okay, the People's Guerrilla Army, formed in the year 2000, and that eventually merged with People's War and Maoist Communist Center. Okay, so this was ultimately merged with the People's War and Maoist Communist Center in the year 2004 to form Communist Party of India Maoist. Okay, so in the 2004, a left-wing extremist group was formed, and the name of the group is Maoist. CPI Maoist. Okay, so there are several other groups. Okay, they believe in left ideology. In India itself, we have the Communist Party of India and the Communist Party of India, Marxist and Leninist. Marxist and Leninist. However, these two left ideology believing parties are believed in the democratic politics. Okay, they believe in the democratic politics. However, the CPI Maoist, they believe in violence. Okay, violent overthrow of the government, violently overthrowing the government. Okay, so please understand the government efforts in this respect. What are the measures which the government has taken? The government generally followed two approaches. One approach is security, and the other approach is development. Okay, so when it comes to development, the government has been planning to develop infrastructure, roads, education, healthcare in the red corridor districts, in the red corridor states or districts. Okay, for example, reduction in poverty through public distribution system and announcing minimum support prices for the forest produce, with the help of trifid, with the help of trifid. And apart from that, government has also been constructing roads, railways, banks, schools, and this will help mainstreaming the tribal people. Okay, this will help mainstream the tribal people. They are generally isolated. Generally isolated. Now, what security measures India has already taken? India has taken several security measures in the affected districts of our country, or otherwise the red corridor districts of our country. Okay, uh, this has covered under the security related expenditure scheme. Okay, this has covered under the security related expenditure scheme and the reimbursement of security related expenses of Ministry of Home Affairs. So the left wing extremism is dealt at the central level by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, Ministry of Home Affairs generally deal with the left wing extremism in different parts of our country. Okay, so there is also a provision of central forces being stationed. Okay, central forces being stationed in different states. Okay, modernization of security forces and development of intelligence infrastructure, intelligence sharing are some of the security measures which the government of India has taken. Now, this is very important. Operation or strategy of Samadhan to combat the left wing extremism. Okay, the Samadhan includes 8 policy approaches. Okay, Samadhan includes 8 policy approaches. They are smart leadership and aggressive strategy, modernizing and training, and actionable intelligence, dashboard based uh, KPIs, and also harnessing technology, action for each theater, and also no access to finance. So, these are all part of the Samadhan strategy which the government of India is planning to counter the left wing extremism. However, it is evident from the data by the Ministry of Home Affairs that in the recent past, the left wing extremism movement has been waning. Okay, because people have been coming to the mainstream and increasing education and healthcare facilities, and also providing the MSP, and efforts to reduce poverty, malnutrition in tribal areas have been yielding the positive results, and changing the views or thoughts of the tribal people. Okay, now, however, we should understand there are several reasons for the growth or revival of left wing extremism. So, what are those factors which have been leading to the or driving the left wing extremism? One factor is growing inequalities in India. Okay, so these growing inequalities have been sharpened over years, and These inequalities may be or might be used by Maoists to further their agenda. And secondly, the agrarian distress, and that continues to be a concern. Okay, agrarian distress and systematic corruption at different levels of governance. This is also one such factor for increasing or revival of left-wing extremism and the repression of tribal people, a Maoist authoritarianism, and also some state actions like uh, Salva Judum, okay, defunct Salva Judum. So all these factors have been causing or the primary factor in the revival of left-wing extremism. So apart from that, there has not been a proper implementation of land reforms in different areas, and also the violation of tribal rights, or not recognizing the tribal rights, not recognizing the tribal rights, or the police excesses on the part of tribals. So all these factors have been leading to the increasing left-wing extremism in different parts of the country. Now understand this article, what this article has been saying about. So we already discussed about the April 26, 10 personnel belonging to the district reserve guard. Okay, 10 personnel belonging to the district reserve guard and one civilian killed in a blast. Okay, so this blast was caused primarily due to the improvised explosive device. Okay, this was caused due to improvised explosive device, and that was planted by Maoists in Dantewada. Okay, Maoists in Dantewada. Please remember, Bastar, Dantewada are the Maoist affected areas in Chhattisgarh, or overall in the Dandakaranya region. Overall in the Dandakaranya region, and Dandakaranya region is in the tri junction of Odisha, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, and Andhra Pradesh or Telangana. Okay, while it is the fact that Maoists have been on the back foot. So with the data in with the data we already seen that we can conclude that the Maoists have been on back foot for some time. But to dismiss their capability to strike at will, especially at their stronghold, because see the Dandakaranya region, the Bastar and Dantewada areas, they are generally known as the Maoist stronghold. Okay, they are the Maoist stronghold. So the security forces and the government, considering that the Maoists will never strike, the Maoists will never strike, would be a mistake, because this is a stronghold area for the Maoists. Okay, the imperative that the security forces should remain extra cautious. Security forces should not, should not feel complacent. Okay, should not feel complacent. They should remain extra cautious and also follow the standard operating procedure. Okay, they should strictly follow the standard operating procedures whenever they are going for combing, whenever they are going for combing or any anti-Naxalite or anti-Maoist activities. Okay, so this will ensure the security of the forces. And effective policing in insurgency affected regions is actually the function of strong police forces. Okay, so however, the data from the Bureau of Police Research and Development, this data shows that there are many vacancies in the police forces. And when there are many vacancies in the police forces, and that ultimately lead to the compromising capability of police forces, and that will lead to the compromising the capabilities, compromising the efficiency of the police forces to deal with such a threats. However, there are lasting solutions which have been suggested by the author. So the solutions which we already discussed, the solutions in the in the previous section we have discussed is security measures plus development. Okay, security plus development. However, the author has been suggesting that in order to counter the left wing extremism, there is a need to look beyond security and development. In order to look beyond the development and security, there is a need to counter the ideology of left wing extremism. Then that will help us in successfully countering the movement. Successfully countering the LW movement will also reduce the violent incidents. However, please understand the Maoist space is constantly shrinking over a period of time because of increasing security measures and also the developmental activities taken by the central and state government. However, there is a need to delve deep into the root causes of the problem of left-wing extremism and violent incidents on the part of the Maoists. However, the recent incident calls for deeper reflection of the discontent and dispossession of tribals. Okay, so this has been showing that there is a deeper discontent, and also a deeper dispossession of tribal people. They live in central India. Central India generally comes Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Telangana, and Odisha. Okay, so this article has been saying that there has been a deeper discontent uh, in tribals or among tribals, and tribals are most disadvantaged of the citizens. Tribals are most disadvantaged of citizens. However, the government also needs to pay adequate attention to perception management. Okay, so the perceptions about the Maoists should need to be changed. When perceptions have changed, then there is a possibility that tribals will not join the left wing extremism movement. Okay, so there is a need for perception management, and a case in point is extensive road construction projects in Bastar. Okay, so the government should go for the extensive road construction project in Bastar. See, um, this article has mentioned that in Bastar, the government giving a reason that if roads are being constructed, and that will increase access to Maoists. Okay, that will increase access to Maoists, and that will further intensify the left-wing extremism areas. However, the government has not thinking that if they construct the road, and that will ease the lives of local population, so therefore there is a need for perception management from the government side, so that that perception change will help us counter left-wing extremism in a successful manner. However, security along with development is required, or sine qua non, for the successfully countering the left wing extremism. But we need to look beyond security and developmental aspects, so that the events or the violent incidents related to left wing extremism can be further minimized, and internal security could be further strengthened in different states, particularly the red corridor areas or red corridor states. Okay, red corridor states. So this is all about the left wing extremism affected districts and the measures the government need to be taken. And the next article is the drug recall law. Okay, next article is drug recall law. Okay, so this is very important. So as part of this article, we'll try and understand what exactly the drug recall law, why India does not have a drug recall law. Okay, so please understand what is a drug recall law. So recalling substandard or mislabeled drugs from the market is called as a drug recall law. Imagine there is a company, and the company has supplied a substandard drug. Okay, the company has supplied the substandard drug to the patients or to the consumers. Okay, so if the company supplied this substandard drug, a law mandates that the company must recall this substandard law. Okay, the drug manufacturing company must recall this substandard law which is distributed to the people. However, India does not have such a law, unlike US. Okay, unlike US. However, in US there is a drug recall law. If a company supplies mislabeled or substandard drugs, then the company must recall such substandard or you know mislabeled drugs from the market. India does not have a such a law. Okay, so why the drug recall law is in use? It is in news because on April 25, about it is a multinational pharmaceutical company. Okay, this is actually a multinational pharmaceutical company, and this company has published a notice in a newspaper. Okay, so this notice has been saying that the some consignment of this company has mislabeled. Okay, mislabeled, the consignment has been mislabeled or medicine. Okay, so therefore it is inadvertently shipped to the market. The company has been giving you know caution, or company has been giving warning and advice to the people that it has been inadvertently shipped the mislabeled batch or mislabeled consignment of medicine. So therefore, if India have the drug recall law, India have drug recall law in place, then the company is legally bound to recall such a substandard or mislabeled law. Okay, such substandard or mislabeled drugs. Okay, so and this will also have a clear regulatory framework, and will also facilitate ways and means how those drugs can be recalled. And this will also facilitate the administrative structures, and necessary for the drug recall. Okay, and apart from that, it will also place the roles and responsibilities of the center and state governments, along with the pharmaceutical manufacturing companies when it comes to the drug recall. And it will also provide a set of guidelines for the pharmaceutical companies in case of if they supplied substandard or mislabeled drugs. And it will also provide fines and punishment. Okay, fines and punishment for the pharmaceutical companies or any errant officials. So therefore, India needs such a drug recall law. Several advanced and developed countries already have such a law. However, India has been planning to have such a law since 1976. Okay, since 1976, India has been planning to have such a law, but this law has not come into force. Okay, this law has not come into force, or this law has not been enacted by the center. Okay, however, several people, including children, are almost certainly dying. Okay, so they are certainly dying. Why they are certainly dying? Because if a pharmaceutical company provides substandard or mislabeled drugs, there is a possibility that they will develop the microbial resistance. Okay, they will develop microbial resistance. So along with the developing microbial resistance, uh, taking incorrect doses will also leads to a death or worsening of their existing diseases. So therefore, people, including children, are almost certainly dying, suffering from adverse health events because of substandard drugs, and are not safely removed from the market. However, every month, dozens of drugs fail the random testing in the government laboratories. So, all these factors have been pointing that India requires a drug recall law. However, why India does not have such a drug recall law? So, what are the problems that make India does not have a drug recall law? Okay, so drug regulation section of Union Health Ministry. Okay, Union Health Ministry is not up to the task of tackling the complex drug regulatory issues. So there are a very complex drug regulatory issues, and the drug regulation section of Union Health Ministry is not up to the task of managing or tackling complex drug regulatory issues. Okay, this is primarily because of the following factors. They include the apathy, lack of expertise, greater interest in enabling the government's greater interest in enabling the growth of pharmaceutical industry than protecting the public health. Okay, so the government's greater interest in enabling enabling the growth of pharmaceutical industry rather than protecting the public health. The second possible factor is India's highly fragmented regulatory structure. So India has a very highly fragmented regulatory structure. Okay, with state having its own drug regulator. Each state there is a separate or a separate drug regulator. Because of this reason, there India has a highly fragmented drug regulatory sector, and that has been bringing in a drug recall law is not possible in India. However, India requires such a drug recall law because it is matter of public health. Children and people have been dying because of substandard or mislabel or incorrect doses of drugs. Okay, now the next article is with respect to the reservations in urban local bodies. Haryana government, okay, Haryana recently provided reservation in urban local bodies for OBCs. Reservation in urban local bodies for OBCs. However, before actually providing reservation to urban local bodies, providing reservation in urban local bodies for other backward classes, for other backward classes, OBCs in other backward classes, the government should show the empirical data. The government should show empirical data. Okay, the government should show empirical data. Okay, Haryana government have already appointed a committee. Okay, so Haryana government has appointed the backward classes, Haryana backward classes commission. So after accepting report from Haryana backward classes commission, uh, Haryana government moving forward providing reservation in urban local bodies for other backward classes. However, the commission has divided OBCs into two categories. Okay, it has divided OBCs into two categories, and one category of OBCs are included in Block A, and the other category of OBCs are included in Block B. Okay, they are included in Block B. So Block A category casts have been given reservation in urban local bodies. They have been given reservation in urban local bodies because they are significantly backward. Okay, they are significantly backward compared to Block A categories of other backward classes. Compared to Block A categories of OBCs, Block B are socially and economically well off. Socially and economically well off. So therefore, keeping this in mind, the Haryana government has provided reservation to other backward classes in urban local bodies for Block A category of OBCs. Now understand the constitutional provisions with respect to this. Constitutional provisions with respect to this. So it is mandatory to provide reservation for scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and women in the local bodies. That includes both panchayat and urban local bodies. However, state governments with the legislative sanction can provide reservation to other backward classes if they are not adequately represented. If they are not adequately represented or they are significantly backward and their representation in the urban local bodies is necessary. Okay, so keeping this in mind, the Haryana government has given reservation to other backward classes in the urban local bodies. However, in this context, it is important for us to understand the Supreme Court's triple test for OBC's reservation. Okay, Supreme Court's triple test for OBC's reservation. You may get the question that a triple test suggested by the Supreme Court or recommended by the Supreme Court is uh, about which of the following aspects. So it is about providing reservation for OBCs in urban local bodies. Okay, so this triple test for OBCs reservation in urban local bodies. So this specify the proportion of reservation in each local body, and also this should not include the total 50 percentage reservation which has been mentioned by the Supreme Court in Indira Sanai case in the year 1992, and also data be made available on the backwardness of OBCs in every local body. If empirical data is available and the data has been showing that the OBCs are backward and they do not have adequate representation, and they should be given representation in the urban local bodies. Okay, so this is all about this article. The next very important news article is 5 more cheetahs to be released into wild at Kuno. Okay, so where is Kuno Palpur National Park is located? Kuno Palpur National Park is located in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Okay, it is located in the state of Madhya Pradesh. So, the National Tiger Conservation Authority, this is actually the nodal body of the cheetah reintroduction program. It is a nodal body of cheetah reintroduction program. Cheetah reintroduction program in India. So we all know that India has introduced at least 20 cheetahs. India has introduced 20 cheetahs, 8 from Namibia and 12 from South Africa. Okay, 12 from South Africa. So these cheetahs were introduced into Kuno Palpur National Park. However, these cheetahs were not actually opened. Okay, so they are not actually opened into the Kuno Palpur National Park. Okay, so there was an enclosure. Okay, there was an enclosure within the Kuno Palpur National Park. Okay, so why there is a need for such an enclosure, so that the cheetahs will be able to make adapt to the environment. They will be able to adapt to the environment uh, in the Kuno Palpur National Park, so that their survival chances are very high. Okay, their survival chances are very high. Now the government in Madhya Pradesh has been planning to release 5 more cheetahs. They include 3 females and 2 males will be released from acclimatization camps. Okay, first they will be placed in the acclimatization camps, and acclimatization camps make the cheetahs to adopt to the environmental conditions. Okay, first cheetahs will adopt to the environmental conditions, and they will be opened. The cheetahs will be opened into the forest. Okay, so that they have a higher survivability. Out of 20 cheetahs, already 2 cheetahs have died. Okay, 2 cheetahs have died. So out of 2 cheetahs, one is died because of kidney failure. The other cheetah is died because of the heart failure. Okay, it is died because of the heart failure. The National Tiger Conservation Authority, this is actually the nodal body of cheetah reintroduction program, and this has recommended the introduction of 5 more cheetahs into the wild of the Kuno Palpur National Park. Okay, and the government has been planning to introduce more cheetahs over a period of a decade, so that the cheetahs population will be stabilized. Okay, cheetahs population will be stabilized in India. Now see, in India, asiatic cheetahs, they were already in the critically endangered category, so they already went extinct. Now, India, along with the African countries like Namibia and South Africa, has been going for the cheetah reintroduction program. The plan is to gradually reintroduce cheetahs into India's ecosystem and also stabilize their population. Okay, so these are some facts related to cheetahs. 8 from Namibia and 12 from South Africa. And where they were introduced? They were introduced in Kuno Palpur National Park, Madhya Pradesh. Kuno National Park will have a 600-hectare fenced enclosure to house these cheetahs. Okay, so what will be the long-term population size of cheetahs? It is around 50 plus cheetahs. Okay, it is around 50 plus cheetahs. So there were other relocation programs also. They include South Africa to Malawi and Mozambique. And so these cheetahs, African cheetahs, will share its space with Asiatic lions in Gujarat. Okay, Asiatic lions live in Gujarat, and they will share space with Asiatic lions. And so Kuno Palpur National Park has also it also has certain threats for the cheetahs. Okay, they include the existing leopard population will be a threat for the African cheetahs. Okay, so what is the carrying capacity of the Kuno Palpur National Park? The total carrying capacity of the Kuno Palpur National Park is 21 cheetahs. Some facts related to cheetahs. This is actually the oldest big cat species, and ancestors can be traced back to about 8.5 million years. It is traced back to 8.5 million years. So number of cheetahs just under around 7,500 individuals globally. Now IUCN status, IUCN, it is categorized or recognized as a vulnerable species. Asiatic cheetah on the other hand recognized as critically endangered. Asiatic cheetah is categorized as critically endangered along with Northwest African cheetahs. Cheetahs have lost around 90% of their global habitat. They now live in just 9% of their historic range. Okay, this is all facts related to Asiatic cheetah and also African cheetah and reintroduction program of cheetahs. And this is with respect to the new code. Okay, this is with respect to new code. So we know that there is already a code where US, Japan, India, and Australia are already members. Okay, these are countries which are already members and they work for a peaceful, prosperous, rules-based, inclusive Indo-Pacific. Okay, they work for a peaceful, prosperous, rules-based Indo-Pacific region. So in the same lines, India, along with the like-minded nations like US, Israel, Israel, UAE, India, they together formed a Western Chord. Okay, they together formed a Western Chord. It is otherwise known as I2U2. Okay, I2U2. So I2U2, Israel, India, USA, UAE. Okay, so I2U2 is also dubbed as I2U2 is also dubbed as the Western Chord. So now India and USA have been mooting the idea of new Quad. Okay, they have been mooting the idea of new Quad. So new Quad includes countries like Saudi Arabia, US, India, okay, and UAE. Okay, so these all countries will form another new Quad in the Middle East, particularly in the backdrop of recently China mediated recent China mediated deal between Iran and Iran and Saudi Arabia. Okay, Iran and Saudi Arabia. Okay, so this is relevant, particularly important for India in the perspective of Chinese growing presence and the influence, China's plans to limit India's influence in the Middle East. Okay, and India's energy security, India's energy security, and also India's diaspora working population. So and India's role as a net security provider in the region, net security provider in the region. So India's plans to increase its influence in the Middle East, increase its influence in the Middle East, and India, along with other like-minded countries, also finding out alternatives to Belt and Road Initiative and countering the Belt and Road Initiative. Because of all these reasons, the new Quad, okay, new Quad, the Western Quad or the Middle Eastern Quad is very important. Okay, so these are the most relevant and important news articles for today's discussion. Okay, so that's it. Thank you.